Greetings, friends, and welcome to Updates Area for the most recent breaking news. As a result of President Joe Biden's dismal debate performance against former President Donald Trump's Vice President Kamala Harris, the U.S. Congress is proceeding with an attempt to remove him from office, has reacted quickly. Watch the entire video for a thorough update on this startling development that has caught the country off guard today. Don't forget to hit the like button. We sincerely appreciate it. That would be really helpful, and don't forget to subscribe. It's completely free, because we become friends, and I'll let you know that things in the city of Washington have been moving rather swiftly in the last few hours. It's no secret that President Joe Biden's appalling performance at the presidential debate between him and former U.S. President Donald Trump is having a big influence on not just this influence extends to all Washington officials, including those from the Democratic and Republican parties, as well as the American people who will vote in the next elections in November. Members of the Republican Party are claiming that the presidential debate is being held in a way that is unique in the history of the United States Congress, which is currently making the decision to remove a sitting president from the majority of his posts. Republicans are moving in an indication that President Joe Biden is incapable of carrying on in the role of President of the United States, which is, of course, the most important job that exists on our world. Right now, all of your demands to utilize the 25th Amendment and remove President Joe Biden from office are motivated by his appalling performance during the final presidential debate on Thursday night. See what some political analysts in our nation said about President Joe Biden's lack of mental, physical, and strength to continue serving as the President of the United States in the hours after the debate. Those who have been listening to me for a long time know that I try to be as neutral as possible. I am a sincere and objective person. However, at the upcoming Friends gathering, we must endeavor to be very sincere and objective. Somebody who criticizes the Democratic Party harshly, but I also attack the Republican Party with similar vigor. I always attempt to take an objective stance, and today is no different. It is no secret to anyone that President Biden did not enjoy the most amazing night of his life, at least not in my perspective, as we all saw that evening during the presidency. Unfortunately, the discussion has made us very sad since we find it difficult to comprehend how U.S. President Joe Biden is not only attempting to carry out his duties as best he can in his capacity, but also, despite having acknowledged his shortcomings as a leader, he is not only making an effort to carry out his obligations as President of the United States, but also getting ready to run for office again and hold the office for a further 4 years. 82-year-old who regrettably faces the entire country in the most recent presidential debate. If you enjoy our content, please remember to click the thank you button. This will much benefit our channel Republican representative. For those unaware, the 25th Amendment permits the removal of the President of the United States with cause. Chip Roy is currently leading the U.S. Congress in invoking this clause. Given that the Republican congressman has stated that he is currently submitting a last-minute emergency resolution, he naturally gives command to the Vice President, who is on duty in this nation, for certain specific reasons. Vice President of the United States Kamala will be able to call the cabinet, exercise all of her constitutional authority, and announce that President Joe Biden is unable to carry out his responsibilities as our nation's president. Of course, as I said, in an objective manner, since I have to maintain objectivity throughout this video and the news in general. It's crucial to realize that the Republican Party aims to maximize their political gains. The United States is about to hold elections in November to choose a new president. While there are many reasons to take into account all of the alternatives, I am particularly referring to president. Because to Joe Biden's purported incapacity, the Republican Party is currently taking steps to acquire political leverage and win the majority of votes in the November elections for Congressman and the President of the United States. Senators, some people have a tendency to forget that the elections in November not only choose the nation's new president, but also who will control the majority in the House of Representatives, and the Senate Section 4 of the Constitution has never been used, but it assigns the Vice President and the majority of the cabinet powers. The 25th Amendment to the Constitution gives particular attention to this provision. Call it in Latin countries the power to act on behalf of the majority of the nation's ministers. Should the secretaries and Congress determine that the president is unable to carry out the duties of his office, the vice president will assume the position of acting president, which would mean that Vice President Kamala Harris would lead the country until the next elections in November if Congress approves the Republican Party's present proposal in the coming days. Following President Biden's unsettling performance during Thursday's debate with former President Donald Trump, I will take over as the nation's acting president for the next several hours. The Republican Party has called for President Biden to be impeached. At the start of the event, Biden, 81, struggled to allay concerns about his age, and onlookers noticed a very hoarse and weak voice at one point. To our surprise, the debate moderators halted him mid-sentence, hindering him from finishing his answer to a question. Sadly, President Biden found it quite difficult to respond intelligently, complete his sentences, talk clearly, and have a somewhat hoarse voice. The president reportedly had a sore throat and the flu, among other illnesses, according to reports from the White House and the media. Sadly, they chose not to provide this information before the debate, and as a result, the president of the message that the United States is delivering to the nation is that, while they apologize for the president's absence from the debate due to illness, friends, in my humble view, President Joe Biden, who is, in my honest view, quite old, ought to think about stepping down. I think the Democratic Party should search for a strong candidate at this time, face the facts, and don't avoid the sun. If it truly hopes to challenge Donald Trump, the former U.S. president, and sure, they plan to hold on to the majority in both the House and the Senate, but more importantly, they want to win the White House. I firmly believe that anybody with eyes and an objective observer last night witnessed a person incapable of doing the enjoyable duties of commander-in-chief in the world you know. Congressman Chip Roy, a Republican, told the reporters last Friday that we face increasing dangers in reaction to the debate. Naturally, he was asked to speak with the president of the House of Representatives right away. Congressman Johnson said, "We are going to discuss this with Congress." When asked what the United States Congress, the most powerful Republican in the nation at the time, planned to do if they were going to invoke the 25th Amendment. The president, along with my colleagues, will call a cabinet-level meeting. We must acknowledge that the current situation in the United States demands an immediate response. We have definitely entered the territory of the 25th Amendment. Amendment, as Republican Senator Mike Lee said in a publication directed at the media and social networks. Shortly after the debate ended, a Republican lawmaker named Anna Paulina Luna voiced dissatisfaction with the Democratic Party. Citing President Biden's performance as Congresswoman Luna provided the media with a message explaining another justification for the Justice Department's decision to make public the audio recordings of the special counsel's interview with the president, which were taken from classified materials. If President Biden seems inept on those tapes, for those of you who are interested, the images you are currently seeing are real. Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna is a Republican from Florida who is well known for her strong social media presence. We must immediately invoke the 25th Amendment. I think the tapes have really surfaced based on President Biden's performance last night and the uproar from Democrats across various media outlets among the Congresswoman Luna and her continuous support for former U.S. President Donald Trump. Americans, I think the cabinet should get rid of him right once. They went on to say that this recently elected Republican congressman has received a lot of attention from her publications and social media presence. As the screen shows, the party divisions significantly impact mood, as seen by the fact that 52% of Republican voters believe that President Biden should be impeached. The Republican Party elected a new representative to the U.S. Congress in February. Vice President Kamala Harris, understandably, reacted quickly to the notion that former President Trump is correct to support President Biden's prompt departure, and made it plain that she would not be considering taking such a step later. Despite the debate's rather sluggish beginning, the vice president supported President Biden and the 90-minute event ended with a forceful conclusion.